You are welcome once again for an incisive look at Clarion Terraces by the Detail Apartments here on Monastery Road.
And here with us is the founder and CEO of the Detail Apartment, Architect Olamide. Welcome, sir.
Very much welcome.
Always a pleasure having you guys around.
Now, I know there has been a tremendous amount of progress on site between the last time we were here doing this proper tour of the estate and now. But before we get into the nitty-gritty, what has the last couple of months been like on this project?
Hard work. A lot of hard work, a lot of grind here. For us, our commitment has been very unwavering. We're still very focused on the same goal, which is delivering a very fantastic, well-finished estate for as many people that believe in this brand and that subscribe to this project. So it's been a lot of work, and as we go through the estate, as we walk through, I'll point out the many milestones that we have achieved. But on the face value of it, even behind us here, I'm sure this is not what you saw the last time that we were here. So a lot of work has been done. It's been a lot of hard work, and we are not relenting yet. There's still a lot of work in front of us to ensure that we deliver what we promised, which is home the way it should be to our many subscribers.
Yeah, having said that, sir, what has been the progress so far from the last time you had this interview to this very moment now?
All right, so I think the last time that Isi and I were here, we were just about rounding up with the plastering, or we're almost done with plastering of, the blocks here externally.
And some roofing as well.
And then we were still trying to round up some roofing work at that time. I'll say since that time we have finished all the roofing works. I would say external plastering is about, say, 98, 99%.
Wow.
And then we have moved inside, and we are doing our finishing works very aggressively now.
Okay, so right now the project is at the stage where we are focusing more on internal works.
Absolutely, absolutely. Remember, we're going to still talk about timelines.
Yes.
Understandably, there has been maybe some delays here and there, primarily due to sourcing of materials and some challenges with key suppliers. Not just us being affected, but I think the entire value chain, the supply chain rather, has been disrupted in recent times, particularly with the plastering sand.
Okay.
But we have once again found a way around it, and then we are kicked into gear. So we are really focused on ensuring that we deliver immense value to our subscribers.
Well done, sir.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so we are looking here at Block A, Block B.
Yes.
Can we take a look inside of Block A and see how much progress has taken place?
Absolutely. And the things to look out for as we go through is consistency. You see, I made a promise when we started this project. We have about 54 houses here, 54 units, which is 18 blocks. And my promise to every subscriber was, regardless of the unit that they subscribe into and they are located to, once you step inside the unit, you should not be able to know what block you are and what unit you are. So the level of consistency, uniformity is also what I want us to see by the time we go through this unit.
All right.
All right, so shall we?
Let's take a look.
All right, this way, please.
So, Architect Olamide, take me through this. How long will it take you to get to this stage from the scratch?
Okay, so I will speak in terms of the actual building itself and then the finishing that we're doing. So for the block itself, I think it's taking us about, say, 3 or so months, to erect this block and get to this particular stage. And the finishing itself, as we go in this direction, has taken us about another month, thereabouts, to achieve all of this. Of course, it's still very much work in progress. That's why you see this place littered. But in another, say, 1 month, this unit itself will be ready for delivery. Okay. So a lot has gone in here.
All right. Awesome. So I'm looking at very minimal work seems to be left done. The kitchen cabinets are already in place.
Yes.
The staircase needs to be finalized. Yes. But let's go upstairs and see what it also looks like up there.
Okay, but before we go upstairs, I also want to mention here that this is a customized unit.
Oh, okay.
Because we have different client needs. And then this particular client here wanted the living room and the kitchen to be collapsed. In this case, they didn't want a BQ.
Oh,
all our typical units are a 3-bedroom and a BQ.
Yes.
But in this case now, the BQ has been taken out and we have converted that space to a kitchen, thereby increasing the expanse of the living room and dining. So this is a customized unit.
But
as well, we have other standard units.
But that's the only difference for this unit.
That's the only difference for this unit.
Okay,
yes.
then let's take a look upstairs.
All right, let's see. So this here is the master bedroom. Work is in progress here. And just like we've seen Isi on our other units, you've seen something typical like this. So it always starts from here.
5 meter
5-meter long wardrobe,
Yeah.
but the end is always consistent. And I want you to appreciate the consistency
Yes.
with the detail. Now, this is block A. The unit that we visited the other time, I think, was block Q.
Block Q, yes.
Exactly. And the same level of finish as we have there is what we have here. It's the same thing that has also been repeated in other units.
Yeah.
So the level of quality, the consistency is very important for us. And it's one thing that we want our customers and subscribers to see, how much thought we put into the
And
product.
I love the pace of work because
Yeah.
we were here just a couple of weeks ago,
Okay.
and this glass frame
I wasn't there.
We're not
wasn't
there.
in place.
Yes.
And permit me to say, each time I come here,
Yes.
this is a beautiful view.
Oh, yes.
This is a beautiful view.
Oh, yes. I think perhaps this is the best view
In the estate.
Exactly. Yes. If the camera will catch that, right? All you have outside there is probably the best view of the estate. Of course, these doors open all the way, and you have the incredible view from the beginning of the estate all the way to the end.
Awesome. So we are still going to have the barricade for safety.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So it's one of the last things we're going to install because it's made of glass. And because it's made of glass, we want to
Yes.
ensure that there isn't any funny incident whatsoever with breakages. So it's one of the last things we install. But for sure, what you have in block P, block Q, block M, block N, with the way the glass has been installed, the same way consistent. It's only when you step outside that you'd see that, oh, okay, this is another block. But internally, it's about the same thing. So,
And this gives you a lovely view of the road within the estate and our track.
oh, the jogging trail, yes.
the jogging
You know,
track.
I did say that the entire expanse of the site is 400 meters. You know, so for people like myself, Mary here and Isi who like to keep fit, of course, you know, if we're living in this estate, every morning by 6 a.m., you see people jogging up and down, you know, and it is such, and you know, that also promotes the sense of community
Yes.
that we're trying to promote here.
Yes.
Is that you see people jogging and you feel inspired that, okay, I also want to work out. You may want to walk, you may want to jog, whatsoever. But the sense of community is seeing people who are very conscious, you know, about their health, and then you want to engage. You also want to be a part of that kind of an engagement. So
Yeah.
I see that helping foster that sense of togetherness, the sense of community in this estate. By the time we're done, it should be one of the best along this corridor, and we are working very seriously towards that.
I can see the potential already.
Okay.
Let's take a look at the rest of the estate.
All right.
All right, because I know the question most of our subscribers will be having is,
Yes.
what about my unit? What about my unit? I want to see my unit. So let's take a tour through the estate
All right.
and take a look at individual units
We'll
as
do
well.
that. Okay.
All right.
All right, Architect Olamido, I can see there's an electric pole here. Does that mean that the estate now has electricity?
Yeah, so we
Wow.
have been able to bring electricity into the estate.
Wow.
Like you said, the last time that you were here, we didn't have that at all. But we've been able to engage with PHCN. And so they're the ones who came and then now drill these cables over here. And over here, we have aluminum conductor cables.
Okay.
We're going to site our transformer.
All right.
You know, it's going to be a very huge transformer, a 500 kV transformer powering the entire estate. Okay. And from this particular point, we're going to now wire
for whatever load.
for whatever load, you know. So when designing systems, you have to cater for what that system, and then there has to be some sort of allowance that you would like a factor, you know, that you allow above that, so that if you have a surge, whatever system that you have already provided still accommodates and caters, you know, for that particular load demand. So we have already done that over here with our 500 kV transformer that will be coming in anytime soon. And then permit me also speak, you know, about the play area. I don't know if that's what I want to talk about. Okay. So the play area itself is going to be situated here. Now,
okay.
what we're going to have is a very large expanse. Of course, the main gate is here, and you have the transformer here, and then the play area is going to be this whole expanse that you see here. And we're very intentional about that. You know why? Because every time you enter into an estate, the first thing you should see is some warmth, some liveliness,
Something
a very good,
engaging.
colorful ambience. And so we want that to hit every visitor, every resident. As soon as they come in, you should actually welcome you and say, this is your own haven. It is your own escape. It is where you see peace, serenity, and calmness. And so that is why we are concentrating our green area right in front of the main gate here.
Okay, so having spoken about the player, what about the basketball courts that you're showing? Where is it situated?
I'm happy you're asking about that. So we're going to have a half-court basketball, which is the half of a full length. So it's also going to form this large area here, because one will also engage in some sporting activities, and we thought to ourselves that basketball court, the half of it, can also be used as a five-a-side football kind of facility.
So that means all the fun activities is just welcoming you as you enter the estate. As you enter
the estate, you see people engaging again. Everything's about the sense of community.
All right.
And so we may not have had the largest land to accommodate all that, but the little that we have carefully thought out those spaces and made provision for them to foster a sense of community. You will love living in this estate, because of all the things that we already provided here.
Are you sure we'll not get a place here?
Honestly, I'm thinking about it. I've seen a rig over here.
Yes.
And it seems you are drilling for water.
Yes, we are.
What exactly is going on there?
Okay, we'll go
there and see exactly what's going on. Tell us what exactly is going on.
So what we have over there right now is going to be our water treatment area, our water works, okay? And so we zoned that deliberately to that part of the estate, because we wanted it to be kind of like away from sight. And so from there, we are boring a borehole as deep as 100 meters below surface.
Wow.
And nothing is random. Everything is actually empirical, meaning that we conducted our tests. And so we brought in our geophysical engineers to do their geophysical survey. And with that, having done the soil profile from here all the way down, there's something they call resistivity. And resistivity actually measures, how you see where you get your water, the aquifer, and also the level of saltiness that may exist. Because what we want to do is to produce water for our residents free of salt, free of impurities, and in a quantity, in a volume that can sustain all 54 families that will be here.
Wow, amazing.
And so having done the geophysical test, it was determined that the aquifer, which is the water table, that will produce the kind of water content, the kind of water quality that we want, is actually from about 80-90 meters below. We are going to go an extra 10 meters just to ensure that we can collect all that water, and then by the time we bring it up, we're still going to treat the water.
So I can see that behind us, there's some drilling work going on. Walk us through, what's this for?
Okay, so like I said earlier on, this is the site of our industrial borehole.
Okay.
Now, so this section of the estate, behind the first block, is where we have our water system.
All right.
And so we have created a lot of room here, a lot of space for that purpose here. So the borehole, like I mentioned earlier, we're going 100 meters below surface. Like I said, the geophysical test and an analysis done by the geophysical engineer states that we need to go that deep to be able to tap into the aquifer, which is like the water bed that will give us the volume of water needed to service the entire 4 units and the 4 families that make up the entire estate.
Okay.
So in essence, they are work ensuring they can get to the water source that we need for the estate.
And you said this process alone will take about 5-6 weeks.
Yes, so they say about 5 to 6 weeks. We expect that within 4 to 6 weeks they'll be done. It's a lot of work to get to 100 meters. Now, for context, this building here, is about 6 meters in height.
Wow.
Okay, so if this building is 6 meters in height, they have to dig the equivalent of about 16 or 17
several stories underground.
So they have to dig about, or they have to drill rather, about 33 stories.
Whoa.
33 stories underground, and that's not an easy feat. Of course, in the course of their drilling, they may encounter some obstacles and all of that, but their rig over here, which is the drilling machine, is powerful enough to drill past whatever obstructions that we have to ensure that we get to the water bed where we need the water in the quantity and the quality that we want.
And when you get to the water bed, you would know, because it's going to sprout out.
Okay, so no, water continues to sprout out. It's just that the quality is in there, and then the level where we want the quantity required is in there. So they must continue to drill down. And then they have geophysical engineers that continue to work with them. So as they drill down, they continue to test. And how they test is by virtue of the soil texture that they are able to evacuate or they are able to drill out, and they continue to measure and use that to determine if they have hit the right depth. Of course, they continue to, with the number of holes that they sink, they continue to use that to estimate how deep they have gone. But they're going to go all the way to 100.
So, long story short, they are showing us that residents of the estate will enjoy clean water.
I'll tell you what.
Is it going to be clean to the point you can take a glass cup, put on your tap, get water and drink it straight?
I'll tell you something. So about our process, we want to take our customers and our homeowners into the detail, within the detail of how we do our work. And this gives them the assurance. We don't cut any corners. Unlike some other estates where they just drill a simple borehole. And to cut costs, what an estate may do is that they'll drill multiple shallow boreholes and draw water from multiple shallow boreholes to feed the entire estate. But that is risky. In rainy season, you get the quantity you want. But at the peak of dry season, water goes down. And then you are able to produce water at the volume that you want. So you must go to the source itself. And this is just showing our many viewers, our subscribers, our homeowners, how much we go in ensuring that we deliver value to them.
Can I bother you to ask for a range of what this costs? You don't need to give us exact figures, but a range so that our subscribers have an idea of how much money is being pumped into ensuring that they get the highest standards.
The value or the cost of drilling the borehole alone. Now, I'm not talking about the water treatment or the gantry. The gantry is the steel structure that holds the water tank and from which it can supply the entire estate. That is not included in this cost. The cost alone of drilling this borehole alone is about 30 million. 30. But I'll tell you, easily we could have done it cheaply for maybe in the neighborhood of 9-10 million. But that won't serve the purpose. Here, like I said, we usually ensure that we go beyond what we should to deliver value. You know why? Once that is done, our subscribers are happy. And for you and I, we can sleep at night.
True. Nobody's calling you complaining. Everything is sorted from the get-go. I love this. This is a lot of work. And you said we also have some utility services in this space right here.
Yes.
All right, good.
Yes.
So let's walk around the other parts of the estate and see what progress we have.
All right. So we'll leave them to do their work, right?
To do their work.
All right.
Thank you.
Let's go. All right. So, Engineer Thomas Sagedi, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yes, sir.
Detail about the Monastery Road. We definitely have come a long way, and I want to thank you for your partnership on this project as a roofer and also a waterproofing engineer as well. So how important is it for a developer to really get it right, just like we have here, and the kind of value you have brought in getting the roofing right and ensuring that when the subscribers actually take over the unit and start to live in their homes, there are no problems whatsoever with leakages and damping in the house?
Okay, first of all, we'll start with the kind of materials you use, because like my trainer said, even if your house is worth $1 billion, if it doesn't have a roof over it, it's no more a house. So first and foremost, the woodwork is key. You must get proper woods, align them, treat them, install them, get a proper gradient so you quickly execute the discharge of the downpour into the effective drains and take them out of the estates. Right. Now, a lot of people don't really take seriousness in that wood aspect. They think they can just use any wood. When you come to a vegetation that is as rich as this, if your woods are not the proper wood, I give you 6 months, the termites will come and eat up the whole thing. And whoever moves in lives with the problem. So we have put all of that into consideration. That's why we're taking it so serious in treating our wood, first and foremost. Secondly, we make sure that we're using oven-baked long spans. There are all kinds of aluminiums in the market. There's some of them that look like they're aluminium, but they're really not aluminium. They actually have a bit of iron in them, so more like galvanized sheets. But they now come with this new approach. The Chinese now decorate it, paint it, but not even oven baked. They just spray it. But what we're using here is oven baked. In the next 50 years, your roofing sheet will not bleach.
It will retain the same color.
It will retain the same color. But if you use what they are using, like what's available, in a year, your roof will bleach out.
Let me really jump in here, so I want you to speak to part of the things that you have done to ensure the peace of mind that our subscribers want here.
Okay.
And so the thickness of the roofing sheet, does it really matter? What did we use here? Secondly, there's this thing called single lap, double lap.
Yes.
What did we use here, and how important is it to ensure that we have a leak-proof building?
Okay, we are taken time to look at all of this, and we consider the fact that the best we need is 5.5.
0.55.
0.55.
So 0.55 mm.
0.55 mm is what we have installed from beginning.
Which is standard, yes?
That's the
By all
standard.
means.
That's the standard. If
Correct.
anything less than that is waste of
It's
time.
substandard.
Yes.
Right, good.
Now, secondly, we know apart from installing there are kinds of nails we use.
Okay.
There are lots of nails in the market. They claim they are roofing nails. Put them in your roof. In 3 months, you find out that everything is corroding. So even after installing nail points, we still caulk it.
So what is caulking?
Caulking is where you use a very solid industrial sealant
Right.
to seal the nail points. So
The
that-
top of the nail.
Yes, the top of the nails, so that there is no corrosion. How does the nails get bad? Once it gets contact to the sun and the rain and salt, all of these components all together, there's a fast reaction on those nails.
All right, yes.
Even you in the house will not even notice it.
Yes.
But we, over time, we've seen that this is a norm here. And besides, you are just beside the sea. So the salt content here is equally very high. So we had to equally put that into integration. So now we have caulked all the nail points, making sure that your nail points will not corrode, first and foremost. That way you wouldn't even have leakages.
All right.
Secondly, we have made sure that we are doing double lapping. Most of the houses you have here, they use single lap. Most developers, they use single lappings.
To save cost,
To save costs.
Right.
But we will double lap every inch of this roof.
And so what does the double lapping do?
The double lapping, first and foremost, gives your roof strength.
Right.
The wind cannot play with it.
Yes.
And it can take any amount of downpour without having your laps compromised. But when you have a single lap, if you have a heavy downpour, those laps will be
So there are
compromised.
chances that water will now infiltrate
Yes.
through that single lap.
Yes.
But with double lap, it's
It's
more or
not
less like you are
possible. It's not
reinforcing it
possible.
an extra lap.
Yes,
to
an
ensure
extra lap
water
over it.
doesn't
So
go
the water
into
cannot
the
climb
building.
2 laps. It's not possible.
So in essence, our subscribers here have that peace of mind that we have
100%.
no leakage issues whatsoever.
100%.
Then the last thing I want to talk about very quickly is that there are some areas that was necessary, just like we have behind me here. The canopy here isn't roofed, it is slabbed.
Yes.
So what did we do to it to ensure that it doesn't leak?
Yes, now there are other areas of the roof which we call exposed concrete areas, such as your balcony hoods, your parapet walls. All of that we had used elastomeric membrane to seal every exposed area on your roof. So, and they're effectively draining into the drains. You cannot even have any issues with those balcony hoods because we already had waterproofed them. We have the parapet walls as well, where the aluminiums are being tucked into the concrete block work before we even rendered them. So they are all watertight.
So in essence, our subscribers have that peace of mind.
You have 50 years of sleep.
All right, very, very good. So there you have it. Our houses are waterproof to no issues whatsoever. And then I've been speaking here with Engineer Thomas Isangedi.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for the work that you have done.
The pleasure
By
is mine,
God's
sir.
grace, we have more business to do, bringing value to our subscribers.
Every other time.
A pleasure having you.
Pleasure is all mine.
Cheers.
All right, Architect Olamido, the last time we were here, this glass doors were not here. So can you take us through the progress of what was there before to this point?
So the last time myself and Lisa were here, I can remember very well that there are a few things we hadn't done. We hadn't done the tiling that you see here, the wood pattern tiling, we hadn't done that. We also hadn't done the Tyrolean, which is the rough finish that you see. We also hadn't done the windows and then the sliding doors that you see up here. We also hadn't done the screeding. In fact, we hadn't done a lot when we were here the last time. But like I said, it is, little by little, one thing upon the other thing, one milestone upon another milestone. And for each block, it's the same kind of progress that we're seeing. For here, we have started the internal finishing work for all the units here. And like I said, it's part of our commitment to ensure that we finish the entire estate as a when due. So a lot of progress here.
Question I want to ask.
Yes.
When we walk through the estate, we would see we started finishing some blocks at that end.
Yes.
Then kind of like jumped some blocks.
Yes.
Came over here
Yes.
to finish these blocks. Why didn't we just continue the way down?
I'm happy you're saying that. Okay, so there's a video that would also reference, so for our viewers to see what this site looked like when we started work here. And so the truth of the matter is that we had a swampy area, a very terribly swampy area on this particular site, somewhere in the middle. And by the time we get there, we'll see what we had over there. And we had to do a lot of work, a lot of ground preparation. Typically, an average person would have just poured sand and started work. But no, we don't work like that. We had to remove every single kind of vegetation, every tree that we had already fought. We had to cut them into small sizes, move them out of there, ensure that we cleared that entire area as much as we could before we sand filled the other place. And now, because we wanted work to go on, we didn't want that to deter the progress that we're achieving. So we just merely skipped that very bad portion, and then we started from this end. And then we kind of like started from that end, started from one other end, and we eventually decided to close up in the middle. Exactly.
Okay. So precisely this side of the estate was swamp?
Somewhere around the middle, not here though, but somewhere around the middle, and we'll get there.
Also, I want to ask also that
Yes.
how did you feel having to see the site in that state? Weren't you scared? Weren't you paranoid? Like, oh my God, I hope I'm not getting myself into something big.
Okay, so if you know real estate very well, and I would say the grace of God, really, the experience I've had, and the foresight that is necessary to see beyond to see beyond face value, so to speak, because from what you see, you may be discouraged. And then I've even had some people even tell me that if they saw what we saw when we came in here, they wouldn't even have invested at all. But it takes that foresight. And the thing about real estate is that you have to identify areas, pockets, that have the potential, that have that potential market value to do very well, regardless of whatever it is that is like a deterrent or maybe like an obstacle or something that may really discourage you from going on there. You have to look beyond that, because on the other side of that difficulty, on the other side, and same as it is, the principles that you have in life, but also principles in real estate, you must look beyond the problem. Once that problem is solvable, okay, and you must engage professionals, in guiding you right as to how to attack that problem. But once it's solvable, go out to solve the problem. Then people will come and want what you want, but not at that price anymore. And it's the reason why the value of this estate has appreciated so much to what it is today. So I wasn't afraid. I was challenged, is the word, okay? I won't stand here and say it didn't faze me. Of course, it hits you and you're like, can I do this? But of course, because you are very, you're subservient to the principles. If you abide by those principles and then you see the potential, you go at it.
Sorry, one last thing, sorry. Can you roughly take us through what you did from the swampy time to this very point that we are seeing, and like the things you went, whether you start feeling or whatever?
A lot has gone in. I don't know if I can fit that into even 2 minutes, but I'll say a high level view of what we did was, like I said, we cleared the vegetation, we cut them into size, we were able to extract them, then we were able to dispose of them, we did sand filling, and then we started our foundation work.
Like how many trucks did you use to sand fill?
I would say so far, from inception to date, we have brought in nothing less than 300 trucks of sand. 300 trucks to get to the level that we are right now, because it used to be a lot lower than this. But then again, you future-proof your estate by spending the money today, so that you prevent spending that money severally tomorrow. Imagine if we had decided to work with very low foundations here. Of course, we would have saved some money, but you see that savings that you make, you pay for it several times over the life of that particular project. And we didn't want to fall into that kind of trap, because we've seen this happen time and time again. It's why we said we're going to spend the money, but spend it once, ensuring that we bring it to the levels where even if it is flooded outside, we know by the time we get home, our estate is going to be dry.
So let's walk through the estate.
All right.
I remember you mentioned something. You mentioned something regarding how many meters we have to go higher than the premises next to us.
Correct.
Can you tell us about that?
Okay, so right next to us, right, is more or less like the level that we met this particular project, which is from where we stand, I would say about close to 3 feet below this particular surface here, right? And our target was that we must actually achieve at least 4.5 to 5 feet above the level that we met when we got in here. And so that establishes our DPC level, which is our ground floor slab, or what some people call in local parlance the German floor. Okay, so that by the time we are done with the compound filling itself, let me show you something here. Okay, we're here. So you see our foundation here has 2 levels. There's the lower level here and there's the upper level there. Now this lower level, you can see that we have done some sand filling, yet we are still about over a foot short of our required level. Now we're still going to do sand filling so that this lower part of the foundation, and it is the same way, consistent for all the blocks in this estate, is the same level we're going to pick to ensure that we are well above any flooding level. Okay, so this is our final compound level. This is the target over here.
I particularly wanted to come to this point because in the last interview you and I did.
Oh yes, I remember that.
Stood up here.
I remember that. That was the block there. Maybe the camera can pan and take a look at it. This is block D.
So we stood up here and it wasn't roofed.
Right.
It was just the block work.
For context, we're going to reference that particular video so our viewers and our homeowners can see what it was. I remember you and I, we stood on top of the middle block there, the middle unit there, and then I was facing, perhaps to come this way. So I remember very well, like it was yesterday. So we stood up there, and this here was at roof beam level.
Yes.
We had done our block work, and we're yet to start, and we had a pile of wood here.
Exactly.
And so the carpenters were at work, and I was saying, oh, over the next week we're going to do all of that. And no, fast forward from then till now. It's
a lot.
It's a lot. But I'll tell you something, you know, let me reference the question that you asked me, okay, over there was, what are the things that we have done to get to this stage? A lot, a lot. So from that particular stage to here, we have gone through a lot, and we are not done yet because there's still quite a bit of work to be done here. We're going to do our external tiling. We've done our tiling already. We have fixed our windows and our sliding doors. We're going to fix our rails, okay? We're going to bring down these scaffolds, and we should be about done with the exterior of this building. So a lot has been done.
See the POPs are done.
Oh, POPs are done. It's done. Like I said, we have started internal works in full gear. Internal works are in full gear.
So right now the project main focus is on internal works.
Correct.
And infrastructure.
Very correct. Very correct.
So this was the point we are showing.
Oh yes.
This was the level.
And by the way, we're going to fence this place off, you know, because this is the boundary between our property and then our neighbors over here. So we're going to fence this entire thing off here. And then, of course, the jogging trail is just by this fence here, all the way down, like I told you the other time. Okay? I'm going to talk about the facilities, you know, because Mary, when we're off camera, was asking me about the sewage system.
Yes.
You know, and at this point, I would explain to you what we're going to do. Typically, what people do is they would use the cost-effective method. What's the cost-effective method? Just to sink a regular septic tank. So they will cast a concrete tank, and that they call the sockaway, you know, in local parlance, and then they cast it, okay, and then they start to dig and sink it. Now the problem is this septic tank is very susceptible to leakages. And you know, we have very high water table here. If you dig probably 2 shovels down, you see water. Now the problem with that is that as you dig your septic tank, you're already contending with water. And so very often, after people have already sunk their septic tank, they're always calling these trucks, these yellow trucks, to come and evacuate. But we don't want that for our homeowners. So what we have done over here, let's take a look at what we have over here. Perhaps the camera can come behind us and show what we have over here. Is at this point, we have already decided that we're going to sink biodigester systems for each block. Okay?
Not for each unit, each block.
Each block. Okay, because what we're doing is that we're going to do a biodigester that can take a very high volume, you know, of feces and sewage. And so what biodigester does is that it's able to take all that in, you know, and through an anaerobic process, break it down, and in a manner, okay, that is more efficient than the typical septic tank. Is it more expensive?
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely.
But you see, like I told you earlier on, we will look at the long-term value we're trying to serve our homeowners. And the reason, and by the time we start this, we're going to start this by early next month, okay, July. And the reason why we go through all of this and we show our homeowners what we do is that we want them to see what we put in place. And so that there is no worry, there's no concern. I was discussing with a particular client of ours yesterday, someone who came into this project, and he said, Olamidu, the people in the diaspora who want to invest, I know them, but they're afraid. Why? Because they've gotten their fingers burnt. And the reason is very simple, is because a lot of shoddy practices and a lot of shoddy things are done and they are quickly covered up. You see, if you came to this house now and it was finished, you buy it.
Of course.
But it's until you move in, you see all the things that have not been done
By
well.
then it's late.
It's late already, and you are contending with the problems perennially, over and over and over again. But what we're doing right now is we're not just doing it, but we want people to see how we're doing it. So the biodigester systems, when we start, we're going to show people what we're doing. And that system is leak-proof. You don't ever have to evacuate it at all, and you have that rest of mind that once you flush or once your wastewater or salt water goes in there, it is well done, it's well treated, and it's very low maintenance.
So what I want to understand, for those who might not know, is the biodigester converts all the feces, the sewage, whatever, Is it into dust or something?
No,
of that
it's into
sort?
gas.
Into gas.
Okay.
Now, are you going to use that gas in generating electricity, or is just going to be gas that gets wasted?
No, so the thing about gas is that it's a byproduct, of the anaerobic process of the breakdown of bacteria, and methane is produced as a result. Methane itself is combustible if it is trapped in quantities, where it can be ignited, and put into use. So what we intend to do is to connect our biodigesters, okay, and extract the gas from them. Probably we'll use it in the facility office there, for use, because in powering the home itself for cooking, we may not be able to gather that in the quantities that may serve the entire estate. But I do know of some developments where it is a very big, like massive, like a 1004, for example. If they design a system for a biodigester, then they produce enough waste there that can be broken down, and they produce that kind of methane in the quantities that can be used by a few households. But we may not be able to harvest that in that quantity over here. But we definitely will be able to have that together and probably use in our facility office.
Amazing.
Correct.
That makes sense. Then
Well
also looking at the tidy nature of the roof.
Yes.
But not everyone is done that way yet, but everything is going to look this way.
Okay, so if you look at the camera here now, let me talk about this. The typical thing is to use wood, which rots over time.
Yes.
Okay, and then if you people can also use PVC, which is all the ceiling strips, for the ceilings. But we are going above and beyond that. Again, what can we do today that can last a lifetime, that we don't have to revisit? Okay. Now over here we have what we call calcium boards, cement boards. These cement boards are waterproof. Okay, and then they have the advantage that they can be installed and they can look as straight as possible. If you can look at the edges there, the camera can look up there. You see that
Angle
it has
irons.
this angle irons, aluminum profiles, giving you that very straight look. Now we're going to screed that over there before we paint. And by the time you see razor sharp angles, just where it should be. Now, as we have our buildings that are razor sharp, so also you have that every single line, every single detail. Again, we are called the detail apartments for a reason. Is that we want to ensure that every single thing comes out with a lot of finesse, a lot of clarity, and a lot of clarity.
All right. So let's keep walking, because today what we want to do is see every single progress that we have on site.
All right.
Because that's what people are interested in.
Absolutely.
How far are you guys going? How's the work coming along? But while we are going to the next block,
yes,
within the week, another developer, a friend of mine that is a developer, called.
Right.
I was asking for, his question simply was, please, who they supply Una? Plaster
sand.
And I was like,
speaking of
boss,
plaster sand, yes,
I will give you a contact, but plaster sand right now is an issue. What's going on with plaster sand? What do you use it for on site? What's going on, and how is that affecting the project?
Very brilliant question. Right behind you here is plaster sand, okay? And that's what we use. We mix it with cement, and it forms a very gummy paste, and is what is used to now apply on the walls to give the rendered finish. Okay. Now, plaster sand has become very scarce, and in recent times that supply chain has been massively disrupted. Now, what we heard was that the very big yard, the sand pit from where they used to get it towards Epe, as you're going towards Epe, before you hit the long bridge at Epe. Now there's a place where they used to harvest it from there, and then they supply. But Lagos State has plans, and then I think upon their visit, they saw how unregulated the activities there were. And of course, anything that is not really regulated or very well coordinated will be abused. So I think they were not very happy, and they decided to actually cordon off and place an embargo on supply. So they shut it down.
Wow.
They shut it down. Matter of fact, the reason why we're a bit behind on timelines now is because of the scarcity of this thing. For about a month, we didn't have any plaster sand on site. And it wasn't because we didn't want to work. Our workers wanted to work. We had the other materials, we had cement, but we didn't have this necessary input here for us to do our work. And so it set us back, and now we had to be sourcing this from distances farther down. Now, where we used to source them from before.
Impacts costs, impacts timelines.
For context, right? So Mary was asking me while we were off camera, she said, this particular thing here that we have now, how much is it? And we're talking about so many things about how we started with a certain price, how inflation has hit so hard, and how we are still trying to balance cost, in delivering what should be still a very fantastic estate. Once upon a time, we bought this for 230,000. Only 2 months ago, a full trip like 230,000. But today is about 330, 350.
Wow.
So that's 100,000. Yet you have to still deliver the houses, right? At the prices that you promised the subscribers.
Start going back to the subscribers.
That's credibility.
No, we don't do that.
Yeah.
No. Easy, we don't do that. Mary, we don't do that. We're very clear on something, okay? We make a promise to you, and that's why we don't really depend on our clients' funds, okay? We actually source for funds is at a cost to us, though, but we ensure that doesn't deter the pace of the project. The only thing that can deter the pace of the project is when that input is missing.
Yes.
Because you can have all the money in the world, but if the input isn't available,
you can't get it.
there's nothing you can do.
Yeah, I haven't talked about the prices. So what are the other challenges you face as a result of building this project with the way inflation has gone on materials? And like you said, you can't go back on your word with your client. So
Yes.
what has been the challenges and how have you overcome them?
Let's go in here. Maybe I can point a few things to you. That question is very pregnant. I'll tell you for free. How have we done it and what are the challenges? I would say everything that you see here, okay? I'll pick some elements here. The door that you see over here, once upon a time, this door was about 230, but the door easily is about 400K now.
Wow.
Okay. Now the window profiles that you see, these window profiles that you see, we actually assemble the windows ourselves. We have our vendors who work on site and all of that. But each of these profiles, at a point in time, each of the profiles per length was, I would say, between 16, 17. For one of the profiles there. One of the profiles there now today is over 26, 27,000 per profile. I need a lot of that to actually fabricate for a unit. So you multiply all this cost, okay, Mary, across the estate itself. Is a lot. But because we're always forward thinking and we'd like to plan ahead, we're very strategic in how we actually build. A lot goes behind the scenes in planning. Project planning is very key. You lose it at that stage, you are unable to in any way deliver your project, in any way. So a lot has gone behind the scenes, although we are still contending with this course, day after day. But rest assured, to our subscribers, there's always progress.
Yes,
on delivering this project on schedule, although with a few delays. But at the end of the day, we want to ensure that we do not compromise in any way. We don't compromise on quality. We ensure that we deliver that value, and our subscribers are happy at the end of the day.
It's very good that subscribers are hearing this, because sometimes you just want, I want my building quickly, but there's a lot of things that go behind it, and without these things being done, you won't have your building ready. So we need to be patient with us when we say, okay, give us more time, give us more time.
But you know what? It's going to be worth the wait.
Yes,
Tell you
definitely.
what, I'll tell you for free, okay? When we're done with this estate, okay, I'm very sure that a unit would easily sell for at least 115 million naira.
120 actually by my calculations.
All right, so I was even being conservative. Okay?
120,
so,
125.
So imagine somebody who invested at 45, because we started from there just about 2 years ago. Okay, so the person who bought at 45 million naira is easily seeing about 200% on their money. On their money.
That's a good investment.
But that happens when you do the work well, okay?
Yes.
And we're stopping at nothing to ensure that is exactly what we do over here.
All right.
So shall we go to other blocks?
Let's
now?
go to other
All
blocks.
right.
The next thing I want to ask is about electrification. Now,
Okay.
we've already seen the light poles from PSCN coming to the estate.
Yes.
But what's the plan to generate that power within the estate to every single unit?
Okay, so now from the aluminum conductor cables that bring power into the estate, of course, that was a major headache by itself, and I'm happy we have already at least overcome that particular stage. The next stage is, of course, the supply of the transformer.
Okay.
Told you that by our calculations, our engineers did the work, and then they determined that we'll need a 500 kV transformer, okay? And that is to cater for all 54 families.
Now, I'm tempted to ask how much is a 500 kVA transformer now. Because I'm walking through this,
okay,
and all I'm just seeing is
cost.
So
Yes.
I'm tempted to ask.
So it continues to go up in value, but I think as of my last check, it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 19, 20, 21 million thereabouts. Yes, if I'm correct. Yes. So that's the cost.
That's
So then
massive.
again, it's better to put what will serve than to put something that doesn't have the capacity. And we don't want an estate where our subscribers, our homeowners, are always suffering power outages, okay?
Yeah.
We will also come to the issue of the solar panel, and all of that. We want our subscribers to actually be power independent. Okay?
Mm.
And that is whatever it is that comes from the grid. They should be able to at least sustain themselves too with the inverter systems that they have in the homes. Remember, every homeowner has two solar panels, okay, and all of that. Yes. So from the gates there.
Idea, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Yes, because we have to be forward thinking, and we all looked at it and said, for people to enjoy a lot of calm, serenity, you know, within the estate itself, it's good that we don't have noise.
Yes.
It's good that we don't have generators blasting all over the place, you know, because when you come home, it's a place of relaxation. It's a place where you should find your peace. Okay, so we are trying to encourage that everybody goes green, you know, and by planting the seed, giving people the panels, you know, hopefully we can inspire. And people are actually taking that bait really to install their own panels and to install their own solar systems in this estate.
And then how are you moving that light into every unit?
So from that point where it comes into the estate, we're going to have cables, you know, that will be run. And all this has been determined by the engineers. Again, we work with professionals in ensuring that the systems can be deployed in an efficient manner. And that has been taken into consideration. And each home, from that point where we have the transformer, the 500 kV transformer, power will be drawn to each unit, you know, and everybody will have power.
Underground or?
So it's a mixture of both, okay? Like I said, I mean, the engineers, and what is very important is we have part on the ground, we also have part overhead. Again, it is what is optimal and what delivers value and what won't collapse, you know, in a very short time. So all of that has been factored in. Like the national grid
that always collapse.
You know, so we want a very, very beautiful estate where people are happy and then when they have their power. So we're going to be running our underground cables, we're going to run our overhead cables where necessary and ensure that all units receive power like they deserve.
Awesome.
So here we are looking at Block L.
Yes, Block L. So the only thing left for Block L here, this is Block K here, and Block L right in front of us. So the only thing we're left here is to screed the building because internally we have done our finishing.
Yeah.
In fact, the homeowners are even trying to, they can't wait to have their keys, okay? And we've promised them that we're stopping at nothing, they're ensuring that we do all our checks, we screed the buildings, and then we install the glass rails, okay? And then we're done. Because internally, we're 100% done with these units. Okay. 100% done with these units, okay? You said something, Mary.
And so also install the lights.
Oh, yes, absolutely, install the lights. I mean, by the time we're done with this estate, we'll do a night view. Yes. And maybe probably that time too, I mean, some months from now, we'll return again and do a scene where we're just talking about the progress we've made and everything. I'm sure it will be a sight to behold.
If we were not yet sold out,
yes.
The question I've been saying is that when are we increasing prices?
That will be for the owners that want to resell.
Oh, yes,
it's
absolutely.
them that will benefit from that.
That's the beauty of real estate, isn't it? I mean, you key in when it is early and when you have that foresight that this place will do well, of course, do your due diligence and all of that.
The challenge is usually having a developer you can trust.
Yeah.
You know, I was telling you a story about a friend of mine, you know, who said there are people in the diaspora who are willing to invest, but they are scared because they've been burnt, and rightfully so. So what we're doing at Detail Apartments is to ensure that people seeing how much work we put into the work itself, how much detail, how much attention I'll put into it, and how we guide them through the process, because nothing really should be hidden.
Yes.
It's their house. It is something they're going to hold for a lifetime. Yeah. Even for those who are keen in for the purpose of investment so they can sell, they still need that assurance to know what they are bought into. And so by walking them through this process, by telling them what it is that we've done, showing them the nitty-gritties, the reason why we're doing it and how we're doing it, those who are afraid or fearful can at least have their fears allayed, and then they can now come to a point where they can trust us enough to invest with us. That is the goal. But we must show them what it is that we are doing, and then and only then, hopefully we can change that narrative. Okay?
That is the hope.
So this is Block M and Block N. So, I mean, just imagine all the blocks finished in this manner. And look at the space in between the blocks, okay? Yeah. That's another thing that you see.
Yeah, we discussed it in our last interview.
Yes. The thing about it is, the estate should never feel cramped.
Yes.
We're not developing a barrack here. What we have is two blocks opposite each other. People park to the left here, they park to the right over there, and then there's sufficient driveway in between. So much so that if somebody in the last unit there wanted to come out, he can reverse full length.
Without calling my neighbor, knocking. Okay, come and reverse your car.
Come and reverse your car, or your car is in the way, nothing of such. So those adequate space, remember, as an architect, my own sweet spot is design.
Yes.
Okay, and Mary can relate here, she's also an architect as well. You know, you must be able to, from the ground and the blueprint, provide what is necessary, what is adequate. that everybody has their convenience. And when everybody has their convenience, who won't love to live in that kind of an estate? That is what we have planned and set out to deliver, and that's what people are going to get. So look at the space in between.
Amazing.
Amazing, yes, thank you.
So we are going towards the end of the estate.
Absolutely.
One thing I see so many other developers do
Yes.
is once they've secured their site, the next thing is to brand it with a big gatehouse. And I'm wondering, I would say in this regards that probably that's something I love about the detail apartments.
Okay.
Because to put in a proper gatehouse is cost.
It is.
And most times you might even end up, when you're done with the project, having to change the look of that gatehouse, which is extra cost again, you know. So I'm wondering, was that at the back of your mind in not branding it with a big gatehouse, you know, so that people see it and say, wow, from this gatehouse, this looks like I want to be here. Okay. You know, you've decided to keep that cost and let's focus on the main project first. Why?
There's nothing wrong with that approach. I mean, just to be very clear, nothing wrong with doing a gatehouse, a very wowish gatehouse, because something must actually connect with the investor. Okay. Something must connect with the person who is buying to say, okay, you know what, I believe in this, I see some potential, there's some value here, let me invest. But for us, our strategy was different, because when people buy, right away they want to see their house. That is it. And so we didn't want to focus on what we felt wasn't the value we wanted to deliver. Or what uses a very good gatehouse? Or what uses a very magnificent gatehouse when the houses are poorly delivered? Yes. And that's not saying there's anything wrong with doing a gatehouse. We're still going to do a gatehouse. You see, from where we're coming there, which is our main entrance, we're heading towards our exit now. We have a very wonderful gatehouse we're going to start. And right after we're done with our industrial borehole, we're going to start. Sometime in July, we start our gatehouse. Okay. And in about 2 quick months, we're going to be done with that. Matter of fact, that gatehouse is going to be one of the last things we're going to be doing, you know, as we finish up working the estate. So there's nothing wrong with doing your gatehouse. We just chose a different approach. Right. And I would dare say that our subscribers are very pleased so far with the quality of the houses. If we have delivered this well for the houses, how much more the gatehouse that is more or less like the facade, what people see first. We're going to pour a lot of attention there to ensure, and the fencing as well. Very rightly said, Mary. Good.
Right, I have a question. Yes. So from the previous interview you and EC had, you know, you projected July of this year for this, but looking at things now, that isn't really visible. So can you tell us, okay, is there a reason why it hasn't happened, and also what's the new projected date?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You know, very, very good one. We love to be held accountable to our own words. And indeed, we did say July. But like I said, we suffered a lot of supply chain issues, earlier in the year. And even till this day, it's just now with the plaster sand, right? I told you that we didn't work a whole month because we didn't have plaster. A whole month. We're just stranded, nothing to do. You can't do your plastering with sharp sand and expect a very good result. And so we wanted to get the right material, the right input to do that work. You know, so what we have lost in time, we are now looking forward to say, all things being equal, and all things being equal, we are gearing up to ensure that people can be living in this estate by December. Okay? And that's why you see all that we've been doing. Without water, people can't live. Yes. Without power, people can't live. We have those two. Now, the next thing we're going to be doing is our sewage. I mentioned the biodigester thing earlier on, which we're starting next month. All these three components are very essential to make the estate very livable. And once we have that in place, what is left is the road. And that's why I have the full assurance that December this year is very, very realistic. So I hope I answered that question.
Yes, it is.
All right, so let's see the back of the estate.
So this is the last block. What block is this? This
is block R. Block R. And by R, if you, by the alphabet, is the 18th letter. Okay. And so that means it's the 18th block in the estate. Yeah. So this is the very last block, block R. We started this block, I'll say about 4-5 months-ish ago. This used to be our material bay when we started the project. You know, we had our reinforcement, we had all sorts here. So we started this block and we're very aggressive because we wanted to be able to level up with the other developments in the estate. And so right now what we are left with is some plastering, and then we do the POP works, which is the interior finishing works. In another 2 months we are done with this particular block. I'll show you of that.
For me, I think I'm emotionally attached to block Q.
Why so?
Was the very first block. This was the block that started it all.
Yes.
And I remember back then, people would come and you always show them this and they're like, is it just this block? Is it just this block? And today we have 18 units.
I'll tell you something, 18 blocks.
18 blocks.
The thing about it, the very, I would say, sentimental side of that, your argument was when we started, this was the only block. I can remember when we brought people in here, it was all bare land. You see what you have over here,
I have pictures,
which is all developed, was all grass.
Yes.
Okay, all grass. And then we just had one tiny block in the middle of what was probably a wilderness then, okay?
And then swampy area.
And further down was swampy, yes, very right. And then people will come to be like, are you sure I'm not putting my money in some kind of black hole? People didn't see it, but I'm thankful for those who actually did see it. And the power of foresight, of seeing and then possibly trusting. And that's what we are actually working ourselves to becoming. A trusted brand, so much so that if we see a location and we're in a location, people should have that confidence that there's something that these people have seen.
Yes.
And we are willing to believe them, we are willing to key into what they have seen. We may not see it, but we know they have good eyes, okay? And they are, for the fact that they have chosen this location and developing it, there must be something here. So that's what we are working ourselves towards becoming. A brand people can trust, and a place where people know that whatever home it is that we bring to market, it is just home the way it should be.
Yeah.
Home the way it should be.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
A pleasure,
It's been
once
a
again.
Pleasure. This has been
Thank you very much, sir.
And
incisive.
thank you so much.
The next time we do this, we should be having our homeowners living here.
Yes, sir.
I look forward to it. No, we'll have one before the homeowners.
before the
you know,
homeowners.
yes, because we have about 5 more months or so, or
Alright.
6 months. So we should be in another 2-3 months to wrap up, to show you the progress we've made, and then the video after that will be with our homeowners here in his estate.
So I
by
look
God's
forward
grace.
to that. But so
Look
far,
forward to it.
this has been a wonderful job.
Yes, it has.
And
Thank
I
you
know
so
the
much,
journey
sir.
hasn't been easy.
But it's been worth it.
It's been worth it.
Yes.
It's
So-
very much worth it.
Yes.
I believe I speak for our subscribers when I say thank you for sticking to integrity.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
for
Thank
sticking
you.
to providing the very best and for bringing back that trust that a lot of people have lost when it comes to property development in Nigeria. The detail apartment is bringing back that trust.
We
So
hope to
thank you
continue
very
to bridge
much.
that gap. We hope to, and we would work assiduously to continue to bridge that gap. A pleasure
you.
having you guys. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
Same
very
here,
much,
sir.
sir.
All right, for our subscribers, thank you very much, for believing in us. Thank you for being patient with us. Trust me, it has not been an easy road, but then again, you have reposed that trust, that confidence for us to deliver value to you. We're stopping at nothing short of that, and we assure you that every day comes closer to our point of delivery. By the time we're done here, the value it is that you invested here, you're harvesting that in multiples. So watch this space as we continue to move forward towards the delivery of this estate. Thank you so much. Appreciate the confidence you have in us, and we'll never disappoint you. God bless.